get started with a few comments, and then we'll take questions from there.
Steve, how are you today? Good. Okay, thanks for coming. We'll get started with some injury updates. Luke Gifford is right now doesn't look like he's going to be able to play. He hasn't improved enough to say anything more than that right now. Ty Ferguson's getting better. We'll have to see where he progresses, how much he can practice this week. Eric Lee is going through that protocol with the concussion, and we're hopeful that goes well and smoothly, and then we'll see about his status. I'll be able to update you on Thursday about that. Antonio Reed, he actually dressed and should be further ahead, obviously, physically to practice this week. Same thing with Aaron Williams. He did not play. He dressed. We hope that he just gets better and better throughout the week. Chris Weber had a stinger, and so as that settles down, we'll know more, but we're hopeful that he will be able to play. Ben Stilley had a groin. We're hopeful that he'll get better and be able to play. Zach Darlington, you've noticed, has still not played, and we'll see how he progresses during the week. He's been sick. And Jalen Bradley, hopefully he'll practice soon. We'll see what he can do today, and I'll be able to update you for sure on his status, how he's practiced this week and how ready he could possibly be for the game. Guys that played well in the game: Mick Stoltenberg had another good game. Dedrick Young, Marcus Newby. Alex Davis is growing as a player. Colin Miller is getting more turns and doing a nice job for a new player in there. We're pleased with that. Jordan Ober, all the specialists were good. Ober and Caleb Lightbourne, had maybe one of his more consistent days of his career. Drew is continuing to be very good. And Isaac Armstrong has filled in for Zach in a good way. Offensively, Jack Stoll showed up. I'm excited about Jack. He's been through a lot injury-wise since he's been here. And I think he's got a lot of upside in the future. And, of course, the receivers, J.D. and Stan and DP, they had their moments, too, in the ball game. So, it's one of those games, in an overtime game, as you review it, it's hard. It's a very disappointing loss, and there are so many either lost or missed opportunities. The red zone efficiency of our team has to get better. We're going to obviously focus on that. Touchdowns in the red zone, keeping the ball in the red zone, all that is a big factor. And when you turn the ball over in the red zone, it's it really it hurts you. And then just in general, our turnover margin, if we can focus on anything as we go forward here, it's taking care of the ball and getting it. We got some timely turnovers the other day, big ones in the game that could have, should have, would have won us the game. And so we just can't return the favor like we did. Just in general, our offensive production, we're continuing to work on it. We actually had some runs in the game against a good run defense in Northwestern that were pretty encouraging, although not near as as much total production as we would like. We've still got to go that direction, and defensively, we played a lot of good defense. We probably at times gave up runs because of just not quite finishing the gap responsibility, getting beaten to the play a little bit. But we also, we gave up 2 touchdowns on plays that were broken, not necessarily broken, but redirected his whole field and came back on us, and we just weren't in great shape to make a play or missed a tackle coming back. So, you know, that's kind of all those things that I just look back on and reflect in a game like that, that we lost or missed opportunities that could have, should have, would have made a difference in the ball game. And, you know, I think, you know, from there we'll take it today with our team and start to get ready for another game. Minnesota has a good running attack. They have good backs. We're going to have to do a good job there. And in overall defense, they've been ranked nationally and playing well. You know, they have a couple guys that are good, really good pass rushers off the edge. So we got to be accountable for those guys when we do throw the ball. And then what we have to be able to do, I think, in this game is have a balanced attack. I think when you look at their defense and how they play pass defense, which is ranked very high in the conference, you know, you're going to have to be able to balance out some runs and then do what we can do in the play action game and do it best on first and second down. Their third down defensive front gets after you pretty good. You know, I know I'll get questions about the state of our team, and my expectations are is that we'll have a great week of practice. I think that you know, this is a great time for all of us to not be controlled by our circumstances, but be controlled by the moment of what we get to do. I'm excited to get back to work with our team this afternoon and get ready to go. And I expect with this group, as we've had, a great enthusiasm for the work as we get going. You know, I think that we have good, responsible older guys in the leadership that will show the way in that way. And then I think that, you know, our younger players are tuned in and have been excited to play and can see some growth that they're making themselves individually. And from there, I'll open it up to questions.
Hey, Mike, you talked about the state of your team. Do you at all address with them just the buzz and the talk on the street, basically, or through social media, to try to keep them, I guess, in tune with what you guys want to do as opposed to worrying about what's being said outside?
You know, I think that in general, I don't try to kind of mediate between what may be going on outside of our room. I just kind of focus on what we need to do in our room, and you know, and you know, this, you know, a message for these guys just in general for their life is that, you know, the great thing that you can do in a hard situation is not be controlled by that situation, but really form your identity for a guy that's going to continue to work hard and make it better. You know, be the difference maker in all this. And you know, so, and we actually preach that from the very beginning, that's the way life is. And when and usually in seasons there's some kind of rough spots, so you've got to be able to not let those dictate who you are, but let, you know, you probably have to fight it a little bit, but that's all right too. But you have to learn to be that kind of person that will be reliable to your teammate. And, you know, that's what being on a team is all about. You have to be that reliable one on your team. And so, you know, the focus goes back to the room for the coaches and the players. And we all just basically have to do our job and try to do it better than we've done it.
Mike, your defense over the last 4 games, and this doesn't take into account some of them are pretty good offenses, has given up 35.5 points, 484 yards, and 6.5 yards per play. Where has your defense regressed over the last month, and how concerned are you about that? What can you do to fix it?
Well, I think that, you know, the one thing, I think that this defensive staff, with the moving parts that we've had, Sam, you know, I think they've done a nice job of having to adjust to sometimes not having the first 3 safeties that are playing. You know, from the very beginning, we didn't have a veteran corner that was out there, so we're playing basically with 2.5 rookies. Lamar played a little bit a year ago, so there's a lot of moving parts that we've had to deal with. You know, Luke Gifford was one of our most solid performers for a long time, and we haven't had Luke for a while. And I'm not. These are just parts that are moving that have to be adjusted to all the time. And I think that I know for a fact that this group does a great job of teaching preparation and doing what we can with the team to prepare to win. So, the statistical part of it is one thing. What's going on with our team and the coaching part and the work we're getting from the players is what I see all the time, and I think they're doing a nice job of growing these guys as a unit and individually. I think that they're doing everything they can, putting those pieces together and getting them ready to go.
After the game, Bob Diaco, the defensive coordinator, said the following: "There's no reasonable reason, considering where the defensive program was at, to believe that they should be able to do everything that needs to be done in the game to win the game." What is he talking about?
I think that probably he could explain a little bit more about that, about what he meant specifically. But, we have obviously tried to make a difference in what we're doing defensively, Sam. We made a structural change. The adaptation of players into the system has been a big job for our staff. And we did it for, I had made mention to you and to all of you that we did it with our goal of being better, and we are growing to that, not necessarily past it yet. So that's a pretty obvious look at where we are, I think. And like I said, as we've made this change, staff, system, all that, I can appreciate all the work that's gone into making those parts work.
Do you perceive that players would read something like that and hear that his expectation level for them isn't very high because there's no reasonable reason to expect them to be any better than they are? That has never been any kind of a message of that has ever surrounded any of our meetings or what we do as a team. I've never, program-wise, that's never been thought of. We don't even look back most of the time like that. I think that, the proof for our players is kind of in what happens with them day to day and the teaching that's going on. And I think that they have grasped on or latched onto it in a very, very positive way, actually. What happens with us productivity-wise may not reflect all the time the growth that we're getting from individuals within that picture. Like when I mention guys that have played well, I think that you're seeing a guy like Mick Stoltenberg in this new nose tackle deal growing as the season goes on, and Dedrick and Chris Webber have been just like that in the interior. So there are parts of it. There are other parts of it that aren't moving as fast as we probably need to or want to. We could look at it now and say that's sort of natural with the change, but our job now is to just make it continue to grow. I mentioned Alex Davis because he is becoming a better football player as we speak. So like I said, I see parts of it and individuals that are growing, and I think that this group has had an attitude of work and growth the whole time.
Coach, when it came down to the last half of the fourth quarter and overtime, what were your thoughts on some of the play selection that Danny called?
Oh, we would all like to have plays back when you don't win, and so you can, as we will, analyze all of that once again. Like I think that the first down call had a great shot for a touchdown pass, believe it or not, and we would have all liked that call. We had a good protection called. I think the one that everybody thinks about and that really hurt us was the sack off the screen, and that one, that brings a valid question up, but at the same time, you know, that formation, that play at that time is all about the execution of it. And they had a defensive lineman fall down and get up and end up right in the middle of the screen, and Tanner had to hold the ball. So, you know, that's still bad, but that's how that stuff happens. And then, you know, the fourth down play was actually a good call, and JD made too much of an adjustment on his route. And I don't know if you have seen the replay, but JD actually is supposed to be over the ball, take his man over the ball, and then retrace. Well, he did it all too fast. He brought his man right into the play. His man knocked the ball down. The guy covering JD knocked the ball down, and DeMornay is wide open and is going to catch that ball for a first down. So, you know, that's a reflection on me and our coaching and getting JD in the right place, but it's not necessarily a reflection on that call.
Have you had a chance to talk with Phil Moos more in depth about your vision for the program? And is there something in particular that you would express about it?
You know, what I'll tell you is that I have talked to Bill somewhat in depth, not a lot, a couple different times. And, you know, the topics will be between us at this point. But I've had good talks with him and been around him quite a bit since he's been here.
Coach, when you came here in 2015, obviously Nebraska had run a completely different offense prior to your arrival.
Yes.
So you had made a concerted effort in the first 2 years with Tommy as a quarterback to blend
Yes.
what the previous offense, Tim Beck's offense had done, but also what you did.
Yeah.
When Diaco came in, what was his approach? It appears that there was no such blending, that it was a hard shift. And do you think that hard shift has contributed to some of the struggles on it?
You know, as I look at it, I think that you know, that we hired a guy with a system that he coached at a high level, and so we were looking to make that change structurally. Like I have mentioned to you, I have been intrigued by going back to that for me personally. And, you know, I think that the blending of the structure, you know, it may not look like it in total, Sam, but when you're playing quarters coverage, whether you're in a 3-4 or a 4-3, there is definitely a blending of, you know, there's some common ground with every quarter's coverage, how people do it, you know, and, you know, I've been a part of and watched the teaching of this quarter system when we play it go forward. There are similarities and there are differences. And so, you know, I think when you look at parts of it, you know, when you look at gaps or you look at what the intent of a coverage is, there is common ground. So in a way, there's always a blend when you're talking about defense. It's easier to talk about that offensively just because of the skill, you know, the certain skill set that the quarterback has. That's the word I was looking for, the skill set that he has. And, you know, when as Tommy was finishing, we had the opportunity to get a guy with experience that could come in here like Tanner. And that part of it lent itself to probably something that we'd done more in the past. So, you know, that's a little bit different when you're talking about blending. Yeah.
Did you communicate with Coach Diaco just that you wanted this to transpire quickly, smoothly, and quickly? Was that
Well,
part of the conversation?
all of us, Steve, expect the best, you know, and you know, I don't ever remember saying, Bob, let's do this really fast, you know, let's get this, you know, but we all want that. We all want that from the first game through every game. And then when you see where you are, everybody just works hard at trying to make it better. And that's where we are in every phase of our game. And I've been proud of our coaches in the fact that I think they have kept the players engaged in growing. And I'm proud that we have some players that are tough-minded enough to keep going and understanding this. And I think part of the reason is that the players are engaged as the coaches are still teaching. And I think players see that. That's just a personal feeling I have, or more than that probably is what I see. And so our coaches will continue to do that. And I think if the coaches continue to do that and try to give them a better answer, then they'll latch on and grow. We'll get better.
A lot of, let's say, Colin Miller, Jalen Bradley, you've had more and more young guys sort of taking reps as the season goes on here. How would you, I know it's case by case, but sort of break down where that falls along injury need compared to
that's good.
See what some young guys can do down the stretch here?
You know, we've ended up with a lot of relatively new guys playing more is exactly right. I think that you know, like I said a week ago at Purdue, we looked out there and there were 5 freshmen playing on offense. And part of that was started due to injury. Like when Hymas took over, we had 2 injuries in a row at right tackle. And so Brendan got in there. And at this point, Brendan has won the job, you know, and of course Matt's playing right guard because of Tanner Farmer's injury, and Cole had to go in there and play for Mike Decker. So there was some dominoes by injury, but you know, there's also been a reinforcement of those moves by those guys are doing a pretty good job. You know, we're obviously not perfect. We're you know, if we were, we'd have more production and be looking a little differently, I think. But you know, then you take a freshman. He's a redshirt freshman, but you know, J.D. Spielman definitely is not because of an injury. He's won that job and playing. Tyjon Lindsey earned his alternating role with DeMornay because of what he's done, and Jalen Bradley was in there because we wanted him to play, not because of any injury necessarily. The Trey Bryant thing kind of escalated that a little bit, but he'd be up in there anyway getting some turns. So we're excited about that. So, you know, I think that as you look at it, some other guys like Colin Miller have gotten an opportunity, but we've seen all along that this guy's going to be good and he needs to play a little bit. So, you know, there's been some stuff like that I think has you know, it's kind of a blend of, yes, that some opportunity was presented through injury, some of it was earned by how they're doing.
Mike, you guys had 8 official visitors in this weekend. What's your message to them and their families when you talk to them? Because obviously they're going to have some of the same questions that are out there right now.
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, the one thing that we're doing as a staff is we are going forward with the things that we're supposed to do. Coach our team and recruit the next one. And so that's what we're focusing on. We have put you know, a ton of time into this 18 class, and like you mentioned, we had a number of really good visitors this last weekend, and we've had a lot of success with that 18 group as we've gone forward, and we're going to continue to recruit those guys and then hopefully get them signed in December. So we're doing exactly what our job description describes. We coach our team and recruit our next one, and that's what we do all the time.
Coach, I know that we've asked you this in the past, but with 3 games left, do you envision your personal role with this football team changing at all?
My personal role?
In terms of what you do on game day, play calling, anything during the week you anticipate changing for the remainder of the season? Oh,
you know what? I'm enjoying my involvement in what I can do, you know, to kind of give direction to all the parts of the program, I think. And you know, I think that you know, I've kind of maintained a consistency in doing that going forward. I don't envision anything else right now at this moment changing in that way, except, you know, we all want to do better, and so we're all searching for those ways as we get ready for the game, studying the opponent and preparing our team and messaging our team whatever we can do better We'll continue to look at that. But as far as me personally, if I can do those roles that I've had better, then that will hopefully help my part of it.
Like Damian Jackson was up here talking to us earlier. It's Veterans Day this week. What has he meant to this team, walking on, a former Navy SEAL?
Yeah, I can remember a few years back meeting Damian Jackson when he came, and him stating that one day he wanted to go to college and be a football player, and then lo and behold, he shows up on our doorstep as a freshman. What is he, 27 years old? And what a special person he is. You know, from the moment he started working out with our team, Ross, he set a high standard. I'll say that. You know, the watching him work out is impressive. Watching him day to day do what he does is impressive. The discipline that he has in all the parts of being a teammate is impressive. I think it's been good for our team to have him here. I'm hopeful that as he goes forward, that he can find a niche with our team where he can actually contribute on the field. And one thing I know, he'll never stop working to find that niche.
Mike, how would you say you guys have done just in terms of penalties this year?
Better, but not, we're at the point where we can probably, really focus in on some of the things that have happened. They're pretty well defined in our control, how we can even make it better than it is, but I think in general we've done better.
Anything else for Coach?
Mike, is bowl eligibility the carrot right now for these guys?
I think it's one of the carrots, Eric. I think that we, I think the initial focus is the work that we're going to do this week, but I think that to not still have that out there as something, would be kind of denying what's on everybody's mind. I think that, it would be great, and we'll state it for our team and for our seniors in particular to fight and get some wins to get bowl eligible. And so it's definitely a carrot.
Mike, how familiar are you with PJ Fleck and just his style and kind of everything he's brought to Minnesota?
I'm not overly familiar with PJ, except that I can see the team, and what he's doing with the team. And he's doing a nice job. I think that when you look at that team, they play hard, and they've been in they've won games, and they've been in a ton of really kind of tough, close games. As I look at the ones that they've played, they've been really competitive, and they're doing a good job.
Like, just on as a kind of overall statement, why is being in a bowl game important to a program? Do you feel that, just generally speaking?
Well, I think that that's a good question. Because in general, it's the bowl game is kind of my experience with the bowl games that we've been through all the years. It feels a little bit like a special time for the seniors, an added one more game kind of experience that I think is fun. I think that in general the fans see it as a positive and something that they can go to a new place and experience. I think that for the team, it's really good extra practices. I like that part of it, and we spend some added time with the younger guys in the program that maybe have been on the scout team that we can actually start to incorporate schematically with what we're doing and where they might fit when they re-enter the competition for spring ball. You get a jump start on that. So, I think when you look at it, Steve, there's a number of things that make it's fun. The bowl experience is a memory, and that is you know, part of their football life that they'll look back on. They get some gear, you know, that it's all a good thing.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned J.D. Spielman earlier. I guess I'm curious, can you just describe how he's able to come on as strongly as he has in this offense this year? Maybe how hard is that to do for a redshirt freshman to come in and do what he's done this year?
You know, I think J.D. has a really good football IQ. You know, so the understanding of what he's doing, it's pretty neat to see. And he is one of those guys that has kind of a football maturity that is beyond his years a little bit. You know, I think that, you know, when you think about it, he was mostly a runner and a defensive back in high school. He did have the benefit of redshirting and so running and catching the ball. But, you know, he has been very good individual route runner versus man-to-man coverage, and he has gotten a good feel for how to play against zones. And that's not necessarily ordinary, you know. So having an idea about coverage, having an idea about where he's going to get the ball in a certain situation, he's got a good feel for it. So he, in that way, is really a fun young guy to work with because he kind of gets it.
Even though he was more of a runner, did you see it when you were recruiting him, what he could be? Did you have him picked for what he's doing right now?
I did have a vision for what he could be for us. You know, I think that when you've had a system and even go take it down further, a position of you know, what that guy needs to have to play at that position. You know, I didn't see him necessarily as a Big Ten running back, but I thought he would be a slot back for us, and I thought that this is what he would be able to do. And so how fast that happens, I obviously didn't know that, but that's why we recruited him. You know, he has that ability, and we've actually in this offense had different styles of slots. We've had tall, rangy guys, and we've had guys like J.D. Both of them can be successful in the offense, and when you have an understanding in that position of what to do and how to do it, then you can make plays with his ability.
You've been tempted to put him at corner?
We have talked about it. You know, we talked about our team in that way, Sam, when we were heading into the season very thin at corner. And
How about now?
no, not right now. You know, that part of it is easier said than done because there's so many moving parts at that position, and probably not what you're thinking. It would just cover the guy, you know, if you're playing man to man. But then when you're talking about run support, fits, you know, the different coverages and how to play them, it's too much for right this minute. Thank you all. Appreciate it.